You're watching the Green Hyundai Friday Night Rivals preview show.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Green Hyundai Friday Night Rivals preview show. For the next half hour, we will preview all the big games and tonight's CEFCU Friday Night Rivals Game of the Week. Joining us now live from our Game of the Week is Paul Wappel and Adam Anderson. They will be bringing you the sights and sounds of tonight's games. What are your initial thoughts on what we can expect over at Sacred Heart Griffin? A battle between two teams that have a history of high-level talent, guys.
Football, Jacksonville 2-0, Sacred Heart Griffin 1-1. Talk about two historic programs. Sacred Heart Griffin, some former players in the NFL. Right now, Nick Broker is with the Houston Texans. Nick is an offensive lineman doing a great job. Blake Hance, a Jacksonville high school grad, is on the injured reserve list for the Jacksonville Jaguars on the practice squad. And Alberto, the big tight end, Adam, is on injured reserve with the Philadelphia Eagles. So a lot of big names, former high school players in the NFL.
Yeah, and these games have been pretty entertaining if you look over the last 20 or so years. I know Jacksonville just had a celebrated anniversary of the big 0-4 upset in the playoffs. Jacksonville took down the Eric Peterman, former NFL player, led Sacred Heart Griffin team. Coach Grounds is now the elder statesman in the Central State 8 that Ken Leonard is gone. He's been at Jacksonville for quite a while, very well respected. He's going to have his guys ready to go tonight, and it is a big opening night in the Central State 8.
It's going to be, this should be a good game, Sammy.
Thanks, guys. Now, per usual, we start with our home team, the Cyclones, over at Sacred Heart Griffin, who lost a tough battle against one of Missouri's best in Week 1, but rebounded nicely in Week 2 for a win over Nokomis, and now all eyes are on Friday night in the Crimsons.
We've said it for years. It's on the press box up there. Our purpose is to be Christ-like, and our goal is to be champions.
That Cyclone tradition is clear, a desire to be great, but this season's Game 1 was a challenge, serving as possibly their biggest obstacle of the year.
Well, you know, I think our stress was after the Game 1 loss was we could probably play the rest of the year and never see a team like we played Week 0 and Week 1. So
I think the first game showed us what we need to work on a lot and humbled us a lot. The second game just showed us what we can be. We know what we can do, what we're capable of. So this next game is exciting because we got momentum.
They now prep for a physical 2-0 Crimson team that is a force to be reckoned with on the ground.
They run the ball a lot. We need to focus on that, keep the energy up the whole game. We struggled a little bit on that last game, so we just need to keep our energy high.
We've been focused on the run game because we know their team history, background of running a lot. They do like wing formation, so just tackling and being aggressive this game will get us the win.
But Coach Allison said that Crimson offense isn't an easy one to mimic.
obviously, I mean, the reason Jacksonville does it is they run an offense that's very hard to mimic in practice. So, you know, trying to get some guys to learn that and be able to replicate that, and their size up front is pretty impressive. So,
still, the Cyclones like their chances if they can win the turnover battle, one thing they would love to improve on from Week 2.
You know, we were probably going to put that game away last week, had 2 quick turnovers, and it turned into a game for a little bit. So I think number one is win the turnover battle every week, and I think it will be in good shape.
Sacred Heart Griffin ready to keep that momentum going. Now, Paul, Adam, how do we feel about the Cyclones? Is that tough Week 1 battle firmly behind them and back to the Cyclones that we're used to and familiar with?
Cyclones Week 1 loss. I mean, they were shut out first time since 1998, but they played CBC, Adam, an incredible school. The wide receivers going to USC. Just, you know, tough Week 1 loss, but you learn from that, and the Cyclones did bounce back last week against Mascoutah, so I think the Cyclones are on the right track.
Yeah, I think they're on the right track. You played East St. Louis in your pregame or preseason scrimmage. You go straight into CBC out of St. Louis. Those are maybe 2 of the top 50 programs in the country, and then you rebounded against Mascoutah. I do think Coach Allison learned a lot about who his team was. I think some of his younger guys grew up a lot in those 2 games too, because that speed they're not going to see in the Central State 8 most likely.
And Jacksonville has an incredible ground game, 367 yards rushing last week. They've rushed Adam for more than 300 yards the last 7 games going back to last season. They're not going to surprise.
They are huge, and as we were standing here and looking down, they look even bigger in person. So definitely up front, SHE is going to have to make sure they keep track of the ball and really try to win the battle in the trenches. All
right, Sammy, back to you.
Thanks, guys. Now we switch gears to our visitor, Jacksonville. They come in 2-0, a tough, gritty Week 1 win before taking it to Decatur Eisenhower. Week 3 pits them up against Sacred Heart Griffin, but the Crimsons believe they're ready for the challenge.
The Crimson are rolling to start 2024 in the Brotherhood. That team chemistry is a major factor.
I like our chemistry. You know, we've played complementary football, offense, defense, special teams. I've been pleased with our hustle, our drive to get better.
You know, it's not all about who get the ball and who shine the most. It's all we a team. You know, everybody shine. The whole team shine. You know, it's not just one person. It's not just an individual game. You know, it's the whole team. So.
Head coach Mark Grounds added that their experience up front has made a huge difference to start the season.
Well, I think it starts and stops with our offensive line. They're 3-year starters. Four of our 5 guys have been together out there for 3 years, and just their understanding of what we're trying to accomplish.
And the Crimson are preparing for an excellent defensive team, but despite any pregame conversation, they're ready to make some noise.
We ready, you know. It's a lot of talk, you know, a lot of doubt on us, but we ready, you know.
It's going to be a game for sure this year. We're not going out without a fight. We got freshmen. That don't mean nothing. These freshmen ain't no regular freshmen we got.
Whether it be incorporating the fullback or opening up the screen game, Jacksonville has a game plan.
Be solid on first down defensively, establish the fullback, let that clock tick, 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 and then make them play you inside out. I think that's a good recipe.
Looking to open up our screen plays. Then once they bring their DBs down, we're looking to go over their head, make sure we can open up our run game.
Now, guys, when it comes to this game, Sacred Heart Griffin has generated a lot of buzz. Might be the favorite, but it won't be without a fight. Does Jacksonville have enough for the road upset?
Yeah, I think the Crimsons definitely have a chance tonight, Adam. They have ball control, and coaches always talk about turnovers. That's a factor, and something you and I were talking about, special teams tonight.
Special teams, definitely. The kicker from Jacksonville, Brandon Sims, not only one of the best kickers in the state, he's one of the best kickers in the country. He can flip the field. If you're maybe inside the 50, Jacksonville, you have a chance to put points on the board. I know Coach Grounds is always going to want 6, but to at least get 3 against a good program like Sacred Heart Griffin is important here tonight.
I mean, I think the Crimsons can't get behind by a lot early. Do you
yeah,
think so?
I agree with that. Braden Hutchinson is a good quarterback. He's not Elijah Owens, who is down at Indiana State having a great career. Who could throw, he could run. They're going to have to stay in front. They're going to have to stay, have positive yardage on first down as well, so they can keep the chains moving. Because if they do get behind, they're going to get out of the things that they don't like to do.
And we talked about the Cyclones have a lot of underclassmen.
Yeah, you're going to see a lot of freshmen, sophomores on the field here tonight. I think Coach Howson is embracing the youth movement here.
All right, Sammy, back to you.
Thanks, Paul and Adam. Battling a few technical issues out there as well, but we'll be checking back with you in a few minutes. But first, it's time for our Green Certified West Goats of the Game. Here we highlight 2 players who have shined for their given team so far this season and could have a big impact in tonight's game. We have a bit of a theme tonight. Both of these players can do it all on both sides of the ball. First for Sacred Heart Griffin is Jamarian Bardwell, a senior receiver and corner for the Cyclones who has already made an impact this year. A player Coach Allison said is dynamic, and if he touches the ball, he likes their chances of scoring and winning. On the flip side for Jacksonville, it's Crossficio Mitchell, another senior who has made a splash defensively this year, but also in the return game, channeling some inner Devin Hester as a major special teams threat for the Crimsons. Just like Bardwell, Mitchell is a dynamic player and can impact the game in a lot of ways. Jamarian Bardwell and Crossficio Mitchell, our 2 Green Certified West Goats of the Game players. Now, coming up after the break, a few more games to watch out here in Central Illinois, including a duel in the Sangamo and a battle between 2 of the state's best over at Williamsville.
Welcome back to the Green Hyundai Friday Night Rivals preview show.
Welcome back to the Green Hyundai Friday Night Rivals pregame show. And our primary focus is over at Sacred Heart Griffin as the Cyclones host the Crimsons, but there is still numerous other games worth highlighting. So for that, we welcome back Paul and Adam to break down a bit more of the action headlining another busy Friday night here in Central Illinois. The first game I want to highlight as a game we didn't know we'd have until just before season start. Williamsville hosting Byron, last season's Class 3A champion, winning that title game by 62 points. What can we expect from that heavyweight matchup? Williamsville winning by 29 plus points in each of their first 2 games.
in the state championship game in 2019. Byron, a great history as well as Williamsville. Adam, what do you think about tonight's game?
I mean, I think a lot of eyes in Illinois are on Central Illinois tonight down in Williamsville. But Byron, defending 3A state champions, returned a lot. I did hear on the way over here, Blake Considine, their all-state running back, is not going to play tonight. That could help out Williamsville. I still think it is going to be a tall task for them, but Coach Coons is going to have those boys ready to go.
And if anybody's wondering why that game is happening,
Riverton does not have a varsity schedule. Kudos to both programs to not just kind of try and maybe take a forfeit, to go out and not only find a game, but find a game of that caliber. Hats off to both administrations for getting that together.
Should be a lot of points, I think, in that game. Sammy, back to you.
We switch now to Auburn and Maroa-Forsyth, both an important conference battle, but it would also be our battle of the Trojans. Who do you guys have taken home that win in, well, an ancient battle?
Well, I can tell you that the Trojans will win. Haha, really funny, right? The Trojans will win. But we talked about it a little bit last week. We did the Auburn game, of course, and Auburn lost a tough one to Berlin, 0-2 at Maroa-Forsyth. Adam, they've got a tall task tonight.
They've got a tall task, and you hope that they're not going to be pressing and try to do things that they're not used to or uncomfortable doing just to try to get a victory. Maroa-Forsyth has looked really, really good. 2 weeks. They're the top team in 2A for a reason. I do think Auburn has a very large task in front of them tonight.
Maroa-Forsyth, they just rebuild, don't they? They just reload, I should say.
They don't rebuild. I don't know what's in the water in Maroa or Forsyth, but Coach Joseph has got another great team looking for a deep run in November again.
Tough task for Auburn, like we said, Sammy, but maybe Auburn can hang in there and pull off an upset.
Thanks, Paul and Adam. Now turning to the eastern side of the state, we check in with our Carson Gordy with what games he'll have his eye on in the Champaign area. Carson?
It's week 3 in the high school football season, but there's a big difference between being 2-1 and 1-2. And we have a handful of Central Illinois squads looking to get back on the right track and help themselves when it comes to playoff seeding. The Champaign Centennial Chargers are playing host to the Rich Woods Knights, a battle of 1-1 squads. The Chargers found their groove on offense last week, dominating crosstown rival Central in a 39-15 victory. Quarterback Kellen Davis had a field day with his arm and his leg, and he figures to be an X factor tonight. The Knights bounced back with a much-needed win last week, knocking off Manual in a low-scoring affair, 15-6. The Knights offense has struggled on offense for a lot of the season, averaging less than 14 points per game. It'll be interesting to see if Davis can turn this Friday night matchup into a shootout and whether Knights quarterback Bryce Hopkins can keep up. And Sycamore is making a 2.5-hour trip down south to take on the Mahomet Seymour Bulldogs. The two programs are some of the best in the entire state of Illinois. The Bulldogs offense has been high-powered all season, scoring 69 points in the opener and 41 points last week. But still, that wasn't good enough for a win. The defense has been a struggle, and they lost a heartbreaking 42-41 game to Highland last week. The Bulldogs want to avoid that dreaded 1-2 start, but Sycamore presents some challenges. The Spartans have scraped by the last 2 weeks with 2 close wins, but it's not a good idea to scoff at them. The Spartans have a track record, including a 9-2 record and a playoff win last season. And Mount Zion has a road trip to Jacksonville to take on Salem. The Chiefs are looking to get back in the win column after a close road loss last week. And Salem is looking for their first win of the season. They'll have their hands full defending J.C. Anderson and Braden Trimble of Mount Zion. And Danville's riding high after blowing out Urbana last week. But they'll have a test on their hands. Perennial playoff team Normal West comes into town for the non-conference affair. And St. Joseph Ogden and Prairie Central meet again. The Spartans are riding high this season, 2-0, and they have one of the best offensive linemen in the state with Cameron Wagner, a 4-star recruit and scholarship offers from Illinois and Louisville, and he's only a sophomore. And I'll be at games around Central Illinois, and we'll be back later tonight with highlights. I'm Carson Gordy. See you soon.
Thanks, Carson, and don't forget, we'll have all the highlights from tonight's games coming up in our CEFCU Friday Night Rivals recap show. The recap show kicks off at 10:15 over on News Channel 20, and I'll be breaking down the action from the gridiron with Carson. Now, again, that's tonight at 10:15. And after the break, we'll check in with the rest of our Friday Night Rivals team, including a weather update from our own Matt Bednar.
Welcome back to the Green Hyundai Friday Night Rivals Preview Show.
Now, welcome back to the Green Hyundai Friday Night Rivals Preview Show. We're going to be heading back out over to SHG to check in with the rest of our Friday Night Rivals crew, and that starts with meteorologist Matt Bednar for a look at the football weather forecast. Matt, what do you have for us?
Yeah, I'm at Ken Leonard Field for tonight's matchup of the Jacksonville Crimson versus the Sacred Heart Griffin Cyclones, and the weather is really nice right now. We are very comfortable. Temperatures are in the low 70s, and it's pretty much been clearing out. Taking a look at radar right now, we had some of those showers make their way through earlier this afternoon. Dry right now all across the region, and we'll be seeing these temperatures as we go throughout tonight stay in the low 70s. Some cloud coverage. The clouds have been pulling away across the area as we continued throughout the last couple of hours, and then we'll finally go down into those 60s as we hit into the
local officials for their love of sport and
football, and can't wait to watch the game. Reporting live in Springfield, I'm meteorologist Matt Bednar.
Now, high school football brings excitement to the entire community, including those not in between the white lines. And our sideline reporter Spencer Davis is live at Sacred Heart Griffin with more. Spencer, what do you have for us this week?
Yes, Sammy, I'm trying to continue our unsung heroes aspect of college and high school football. I have tracked down the Chain Gang, and they let me hold the standard as well. Jared is from the Chain Gang, and Jared, you played ball here at Sacred Heart Griffin. It's a beautiful night for it, but we're going to start with the Chain Gang aspect. What goes into a preparation to be on the Chain Gang?
Well, we get here about 45 minutes before the game, make sure we have the chains, get them out, bring them out here. We measure them off, make sure they're 10 yards. Sometimes they're not, so we got to make sure they're right length. And then the referee will come over, introduce himself, and make sure they're 10 yards, and basically wait till the game starts.
Now, do you ever shorten the chains when your guys are on offense just to make sure there's maybe a little home field advantage?
No, I think that'd take too long.
Take too long. All right. So you used to play ball here, 14 to 18. What kind of, I know this is a very prestigious program. I know the head coach is 231-30 for his career, second-year head coach. What did it mean to play under a legend like Ken Leonard?
Yeah, just learning the game. When you come in as a freshman, they kind of just throw you out on the field, and you kind of got to learn. But learning under Ken Leonard and even John Allison now, they really taught you how to play the game the right way. And it was honestly just like one of my best experiences of my life.
So we were talking about how nice it is. What was the worst playing conditions you ever had?
Probably my freshman year, because I was standing on the sidelines the whole time during the playoffs. I think it was Halloween night. I think it was probably 10 degrees, and I was just sitting next to the heater the whole time.
I can't blame you. It's a great night out here. Again, thanks for talking to us, Jared. Guys, back to you.
Thanks, Spencer, a proud Pee Wee Football Chain Gang member right here. But when we come back, we will wrap up our Green Hyundai preview show before sending things out to Paul and Adam and Spencer for our Friday Night Rivals Game of the Week.
Welcome back to the Green Hyundai Friday Night Rivals Preview Show.
We are approaching the national anthem as you see the beautiful shot there of the flag, a nice cloudy sky behind. They were doing the coin toss during our commercial break, so very close to actual national anthem time over there momentarily. But again, a beautiful night for some football. Glad we got the rain out of the way in the earlier part of the day. But again, we're going to come back here for Friday Night Rivals and take a look at the rest of the games that we're going to have coming up, not next week, but the following week and coming up after that for the rest of our schedule for Friday Night Rivals. And first off, it's going to be a fun one. Quincy, Notre Dame, and Springfield High. They'll be spotlighting that week 4 for us, so that'll be a great game to watch. And again, that's one of still numerous games that we have coming up on our Friday Night Rivals schedule. Plenty of football still to come here on FNR. Again, 3 games following today under our belt. Quincy, Notre Dame at Springfield, the highlight there on 9/27. And then Muhammad Seymour out Mount Zion. That might be the game of the entire slate. That's going to be an absolute battle right there. Pittsfield at Pleasant Plains, a fun one there. Pittsfield shocking some folks, playing very well early on. Maroa Forsyth in Williamsville, another contender for our best game on the Friday Night Rivals slate. And we'll wrap things up with Springfield at Glenwood. And I hear that Glenwood at some of these games, they actually have a couch on the sideline. So that's something we're going to have to watch out. Maybe we'll see Spencer on that as well. But here we are. That'll do it for our pregame show. And We'll have to send things out now to Paul and Adam as they take things over and take care of the business here for our game, SHG and Jacksonville, Week 3 of Friday Night Rivals.